It was here that the romance of my life began. Theodore Roosevelt once reminisced about the Dakota Badlands. According to the National Park Service website, last accessed October 16, 2010, Teddy Roosevelt has long been known as the conservation president and created what is known today as the National Park Service. Teddy embarked on this adventure to protect lands from industrial and commercial conquests so that future generations could enjoy its beauty and resources. President Roosevelt was instrumental in creating the sustainability movement. According to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette on March 16, 2010, the mission statement of the current sustainability movement is more than just going green. It's development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So in other words, sustainability tries to bring together our industrial and commercial needs while keeping a close eye on the long-term impact of land, people, and resources. Now, we've all heard the term sustainability, and each of us knows that everyone has an individual responsibility to this planet. But before we can act on this obligation, it is imperative that we understand what sustainability actually is and the role it plays. Let's take an in-depth look at the concept of sustainability. First, we'll dig a canal and discuss where sustainability came from. Second, we'll carve our face out on Mount Rushmore to discuss the current practices. And finally, we'll speak softly and carry a big stick of future implications of the sustainability movement. The push to be more ecologically responsible is nothing new, but the current focus goes beyond replacing your light bulbs, recycling your pop cans, or reclaiming your rainwater. Let's first explore the historical roots, and then the modern definition. After Teddy Roosevelt sparked the environmental revolution, the groundwork for the sustainability movement was laid out in Rachel Carson's 1962 book, A Silent Spring, which exposed how pesticides and fertilizers were negatively impacting our environment. As a result, the pesticide DDT was banned, its negative impacts were reversed, and the Environmental Protection Agency was created. Later on down the line, Pittsburgh was at the heart of the American Industrial Revolution, a city buried beneath extreme pollution. Now, a city that was known to be one of the dirtiest has become an ideal role model for sustainable cities all around the world. More recently, Al Gore's monumental PowerPoint push to propel global warming at the forefront of our consciousness has changed the world's behavior and understanding of this issue. The word sustainability comes from the word sustain, which of course means to keep from giving way. So, according to the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, defines sustainability as fundamental changes in human attitudes and behaviors, which are critically dependent on public awareness and education to help the environment. So in other words, sustainability tries to change people's way of thinking so that we can all continue doing what we are doing while protecting and coexisting with the wildlife and environment around us. With a better understanding of what sustainability is, we can next examine some sustainable practices of this progressive and thoughtful way of life. We will look at agriculture, water, and energy. First, in agriculture, Philip Potter, the Department of Climate Change Center at McGill University, explains that when crops are fertilized and harvested, there are remnants of nutrients left in the soil, which can cause a runoff ripple effect from contamination to algae bloom, which can lead to a lack of oxygen in waterways, which isn't good. But one simple and sustainable step that farmers are using to combat this idea is companion cropping. The Salt Lake Tribune on September 17, 2010 explains that a well-known example of companion cropping is Three Sisters, consisting of corn, beans, and squash. The corn grows tall for the beans to climb up the pond, and in return, the beans offer the corn nitrogen through a process called nitrogen fixation. And the low-lying squash help both the corn and beans by protecting them from harmful weeds. It's solutions like the Three Sisters is what sustainability is all about, creating long-term solutions instead of quick fixes. Secondly, Kay Henderson at Radio Iowa conveys that the 2008 Iowa floods left the state in ruins. Wayne Peterson of the Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship told the radio program that if farmers had built retention ponds and created sustainable agriculture, they might have avoided this disaster. This system could alleviate the lack of water used in a drought. This rationed water could be used to irrigate thirsty fields, and stresses would be taken off lakes and rivers. Finally, Joel Salatin, who is pitchforking sustainability into his own life. According to the Battle Creek Inquirer on July 24, 2010, Salatin explains that the average farm's fuel cost is 50% of their annual budget. On this and other sustainable work farms, though, instead of shipping in core-based feed, he simply just plants grass and lets the chickens eat that grass. The delicious, savory, tender chickens trip to the slaughterhouse is only a few short steps away from the coop, saving on transportation costs there as well. As a result, Joel's farm's fuel cost is 5%, a tenth of what the average farms pay, making sustainability not only an environmental choice, but a profitable one as well. Now, some people are making sustainable choices, but we are a long way off from having a zero-sum footprint. Let's examine the future implications of the sustainability movement. The first major impact that sustainability will have will be in our pocketbooks in the form of green-collar jobs. Issues in Higher Education on October 1st, 2010 convey that green-collar jobs will spike from a 2008 count of 750,000 to more than 4.2 million jobs over the next 3 decades. This spike in jobs will give our workforce the education, the experience, and the technique in innovative green jobs, such as installing solar panels and wind turbines. Secondly, individuals might not feel that they're making much of a difference, but when entire cities, towns, and villages are striving to make choices that are ecologically and environmentally friendly, the impact can be felt immediately. According to the previously cited Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Pittsburgh in the 40s and 50s was at the heart of the American Industrial Revolution, a city buried beneath extreme pollution. Rachel Carson, who lived 18 miles away from the city, wrote a book that changed the way that people thought about their environment. As a result, Pittsburgh has now become an ideal role model for sustainable cities all around the world. Pittsburgh has a group of builders called the Green Building Alliance. The Green Building Alliance have laid out the riverfront in such a way that is commercially and transit-friendly. The Green Building Alliance is also creating buildings that have new windows, new lighting, and water conservation in mind. Lastly, if we learn to preserve the environment, everyone can enjoy it. The American Journal of Society on Aging conveys that the generation that destroys the environment is usually not the generation that lives with the consequences. While much of the sustainability movement is centered around profitable business practices, there is much to be said for what Teddy Roosevelt simply set out to do and simply just preserve the planet. We need to make sure that the things that our parents and their parents had will still be around for generations to come. So, the history, applications, and implications of the sustainability movement is undeniably one we have a moral obligation to. As a sustainability major, I have come to understand that this movement's momentum will continue to shape our world's environment. You are now armed with a deeper understanding of what sustainability actually is. No matter your view on global warming, sustainability is good for our entire society and planet. It might be a great moment when 100 years after our deaths, people can still praise the choices that we made and are still able to look out over the vistas that we have cherished, just like Teddy Roosevelt did for us.